What happened was.
Hey friends, it's so nice to see you. It's today, the time is now. You are here and the weather is outside your window.
Don't you worry what they tell themselves when you're away.
After several Broadway shows, she landed a life-changing record deal, which led to a dizzying touring schedule headlining some of the most exciting live music venues today. Please welcome my friend from the House of James, heralded by the Wall Street Journal as the most promising young vocalist to come along so far this century, Morgan James.
Hi, my long-lost brother.
Yes, how are you? House of James, Dynasty of James.
Dynasty of James, yes. James squared.
James squared, Sagittarian Soul Sisters.
Wait, when is your birthday?
December 7th.
Oh my gosh, we are so...
We're basically the same person.
We're united, yeah, forever and ever, amen.
Controversial singers who have roots in opera.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And reject it and embrace it at the same time.
Yes, and we're once on Broadway and just booted.
Left on our own terms.
Yes. Do you miss it?
Do I miss Broadway? I miss this, strangely, the stability of it. I miss going to the same place every night. I miss the camaraderie because the community is really something you can't replicate anywhere else. I miss that.
Yeah, it's very true. I miss the community as well. And just, it's interesting because when we, like right now, we see each other and it's been a long time, but we did a Broadway show together for over a year, right? How long?
Well, and we were out of town. I mean, we were in it together all told for like almost 3 years.
Yeah, years and years upon years. So it's truly like a family thing. And you just see each other and you're like, you there. I know you.
I know you. I know what you survived. It's kind of like when I see people from Juilliard, that I haven't seen in 20 years, and we look, or even students now that I know have experienced what I experienced, and then we have this knowing familiarity.
Yeah, because you went through something really deep together that not a lot of people know that experience.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we met on Broadway, and that's all good and well. But as I said, we both have opera in our backgrounds, and as you said, Juilliard. So you started studying classical voice at Juilliard, and then burst into Broadway, and then from Broadway, you've burst onto the scene, traveling the world, just with this enormous body of work. And you're a singer-songwriter, and you have these, you've covered everything that there is to cover. You opened for Postmodern Jukebox for quite a long time, and this flourishing career. And I remember being on Broadway with you, and you saying that that's what you wanted to do, was that you wanted to, and here you are doing it. So, I mean, that's my outside perspective on your career, but I would like to know, connect the dots for me. How did this happen? You're from Idaho.
I'm from Idaho. It's funny. So we met on day one of the first workshop of the Addams Family.
Yeah.
And I remember I was really, really taken by you immediately. And I was like, that guy is a star. And you're even back then, that was like 12 years ago. And even back then, it was just like this calm, steady, stoic presence was really rare in our business, Yeah. It's funny you say, oh, you went to Juilliard and then you burst onto the scene on Broadway, but there were like 10 years of unemployment in between that.
Sure.
Everything is my path has been really circuitous. It's been, when I was in the Addams Family with you on Broadway is when I kind of wanted to start my own band, which I did. And I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't write music yet. I had no idea how I was going to do it, but that's when I started the journey toward that. And the irony is that my Broadway show, Motown, the musical that I did, was how I got my record deal and how I really was launched into writing my own music. So it's ironic that Broadway led me to my record deal ultimately.
Wow.
So yeah, once I finally got on Broadway, which took me about 10 years, then I did 5 back-to-back shows, which I was very lucky to do.
Right.
And that experience taught me so much, taught you so much, I'm sure too, about work ethic and stamina networking and community and all sorts of things, that I then put into my next phase, which was making records and touring, which is what I do now.
Yeah. Well, the most common question I'm asked about Broadway is how do you do 8 shows a week and how do you keep it fresh? And I
Yeah.
was thinking about you this morning and thinking like, wow, that experience certainly informed the experience you're having now. It must have, because you're doing a lot of the same material every day, traveling the world and greeting new audiences every day. And you have that responsibility to keep things fresh. And of course, you can cut a song that night if you want to, right? But there's
Right.
probably a lot of things that you're repeating.
Well, I think once you find a set that works, I actually do keep it pretty much the same because I find a flow that works. I'm not really somebody who changes it up every single night.
Yeah.
I will change it until I find a really good flow and a really good balance. And something I think that Broadway taught me that I do better than some other singer-songwriters is the show aspect, the banter, the connecting between the phrases. Like early on, one of my earlier bands didn't understand how I did the same joke every night at the same moment, like it was brand new, fresh, and got the same laugh. And I was like, that's the actor's training. That's the Broadway training. I want my banter and my storytelling to sound like they're the first audience hearing it. That's the goal.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that charm and that wit and that banter actually from the Chicago out of town tryout of Addams Family. And just remember like you and Clark Johnson just filling time and space during tech rehearsal as we stood there being lit for 12 hours. And it was just like a stand-up comedy show.
Oh my God. We had so much fun, and he's the ultimate, playmate and jokester, and what an amazing person. And I learned a lot, actually Kevin Chamberlain and Nathan, and BB for that matter, really encouraged me during that show. Don't let go of humor and comedy in what you do. Bring it with you everywhere you go, because that will keep, no matter what you're doing, whether it's musical theater or whether you have your own show, take that humor and that lightness and that yes and quality and always cultivate it.
Yeah.
And I really, really respected that advice. That's something that makes my show unique,
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I do think that comedy is the hardest thing to do. And if you can do it, you can do anything.
Yes, agreed.
Anyone can do drama. We all know what that is. Yeah. But
yeah.
Being funny is a gift, and it's sort of something. Were you always funny? Was this like a lifelong, were you a funny kid?
I think so. My dad is really, really funny, and I always recognized early on if I could make him laugh, that was a huge win to me. And he kind of introduced me to like Steve Martin and Martin Short and great irreverent comedians that I loved. And I loved SNL from kindergarten on. I was allowed to stay up and watch SNL, and I worshipped that kind of sketch comedy thing.
Yeah.
And pursued it in New York, just training wise at UCB, and that's an important part of staying fresh.
Absolutely. So talk to me about your voice, because we said you went to Juilliard, you studied classical voice, and of course you had this great musical theater career, and your voice really does shatter genre and all walls are broken down, and that I think 10 years ago that was difficult, right? And it's becoming more encouraged to be diverse in repertoire and to be flexible vocally. But we reunited on stage doing Bernstein's Mass at Philadelphia Orchestra,
right?
And there you were singing classically again, even though you've had this flourishing career as a singer-songwriter. So you really have remained flexible and diverse in repertoire. And talk to me about that journey.
So I really rejected my classical voice, or I felt rejected by the business when I first got out of Juilliard. My soprano kind of training was not popular at that time. I mean, this was, keep in mind, when I started auditioning for musical theater, it's, 2002, 2003, 2004. Right. Look at the shows that were on Broadway then, none of them were legit. So I couldn't book any work. And everybody said, if you want to book work, you have to learn how to belt. I did not know how to belt.
Right.
So I had to teach myself to belt. I felt kind of rejected by it. Like I wasn't getting any work with this voice I was born with or trained to do. And it was a long path to get back to really liking all the weird things my voice does. Now I really, really love it all these years later. I feel really like, wow, I can do so many different things. And it is a gift now. People say, oh, that's so cool. But when I was first out of school, nobody thought that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So coming back to Bernstein Mass, I've done like 5 different productions of the Bernstein Mass. And that show is as diverse as we are.
Yeah.
And that show, or that piece of music, is really encapsulates a lot of what I've done with my career, and that's why I keep going back to it.
Mm.
And it allows me to be all the things I am, which I just have such an affinity for that and for Bernstein as a whole.
Oh yeah.
And so through the years, I've never stopped studying classically, and I think that it just took me a long time to come back around. I think my voice is stronger now than it ever was, and I still sing arias in my lesson, and I'm like, wow, I'm not that bad. Like, why did I hate my voice for so long? It's, it's kind of like you look back at photos of yourself or videos of yourself of how hard you are on yourself in your 20s, and then here I am in my 40s, and I'm like, why was I so hard on myself?
Yeah. Well, it takes such a long time for that voice to develop. And I think when we are in the early training stages, you know in your head what you want to be and the sounds you want to create. And you can't always make them. And it's painful. And your colleagues are having a bad day practicing and they put their trumpet in their case and put it on the shelf and walk away. And they're fine. But we carry it within us and it's our heart, our soul. And it can be incredibly painful. But you learn so much about yourself along the way.
Oh my God, yes. Emotionally and otherwise. And that's something I don't miss about the business, the musical theater opera business, is it really takes a toll on even the strongest person, how much rejection we deal with and how much even the most successful person we know carries with them an inordinate amount of rejection and sadness about the judgment they receive. That's something that I like better about my life now, is that nobody's me. I'm not compared to anybody. If somebody wants to come to my show or watch one of my videos, I'm singular in that way. It doesn't mean I'm better or worse. It just means I don't have to go through that daily gauntlet of auditioning.
Yeah, absolutely. And I truly believe the things that we are often picked on about early in our careers and development are the things we're celebrated for later.
Absolutely.
The things that are misunderstood are then like, wow, you're incredible and you're so unique.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to tell you for 20 years.
Yeah, I've been really trying to tell you. You didn't listen. Right.
Did you ever consider a career in opera?
I'm going to be honest. When I got to school, I kind of quickly assessed that these weren't my people.
Yeah.
I still don't think they're my people. I don't fit in that world personality-wise.
Yeah.
I'm not very good at language. I knew that I would be relegated to, I saw the writing on the wall. I was going to be playing Barbarina. Nothing wrong with Barbarina, but I was going to be playing tiny Mozart roles for the rest of my life. I mean, yeah, maybe if I had been born with like a Puccini voice, maybe, but I just don't think that I saw early on, wow, this is going to be really hard for the best of them. Acting is not really exalted in this part of the business, at least it wasn't 20 years ago. And I want to be in a business where acting and truth and honesty and humor is really, really valued.
Right.
So that's kind of why I went a different direction.
Yeah. It's interesting because those things are valued now, but it has taken a long time, and it's production to production, director to director, conductor to conductor. It's very much who you're with. And I've kind of found this niche in contemporary opera that I cherish because it's really thought of as theater. And that's
wow. Yeah. I mean, you've done so many incredible things and premieres and you've forged a path that is so unique. I mean, and that's the ultimate goal. A lot of people aren't able to do that, but you've had this, what's that, scythe, and you've gone through and you've hacked out the path for yourself, truly,
Well, thanks. I mean, I've had some great people in my corner, and going back to Adam's family, Phelan McDermott is greatly responsible for a lot of my success because he introduced me to Philip Glass, and that was really my entryway into opera as a principal artist, a professional, so that was kind of a weird path. But it's funny, I'm like known as an opera singer now, and I'm like, no, that's not me. I didn't.
Well, it is you too,
It is.
I think it's really hard because it's very hard to accept where someone finds us, right? So you mentioned PMJ, Postmodern Jukebox, and most people find me through YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Most people who find me and find my videos don't even know I ever went to Juilliard or ever was on Broadway. They don't even know that side of me. They find a video, usually a PMJ video, and I did 10 videos with PMJ and 6 different tours, but I no longer tour with them and I no longer make videos. And sometimes I get upset. I'm like, that's not all that I've ever done in my life. And that's not even what I do now.
Right.
And it's hard to, or when people call me a Broadway singer, I'm like, well, I don't do Broadway anymore. And, we were brought up in boxes, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to not keep those on ourselves. And sometimes we have to say, like, it's part of who you are. It's a huge part of who you are. It's a huge part of who I am. And I try, my mantra every show is, however you found me, if you found me at Godspell on Broadway, if you found me on the radio, if you found me on a video, that's the right path. And then, there's more to me you'll discover if you stick around.
And we call that yes and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly,
And I also do this. Yeah, it's fabulous.
And I also do this,
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought I knew you, and then I remember seeing actually the video of Take Me to Church, and I was like, I don't know her.
Take me to church, I'll worship like a dog at the shrine of your lights. I'll tell you my sins and you can sharpen your knife. Offer me that deathless death. Good God, let me give you my life. Take me to church at the shrine of your lights. Or you can sharpen your knife. Offer me that deathless death. Good God, let me give you my life. Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
It just floored me.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I knew what you could do. I had heard you messing around backstage, and I of course knew your soprano very well. But it's very exciting to hear a voice like yours, and
Thank you.
yeah, that command and that versatility. It's very, very exciting.
Thank you so much.
And I think it's an important conversation to say, like, you started at Juilliard training classically, and look what she does. Because a lot of people in classical music listen to other styles of singing, and they label it as not healthy. And I'm like, hold up, because belting it takes some really, really fine-tuned technique, and it's a similar support, and it's a art.
Well, I learned to belt by watching Pavarotti and listening to Pavarotti and listening to tenors.
Yeah.
That who are the best belters? Who are doing something with their voice that probably shouldn't be possible? They're tenors,
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's I think that frankly something that I've discussed with other voice teachers and vocal nerds throughout the years is there's something very unhealthy that happens sometimes to a classical voice that has never initiated the support of their chest voice or initiated their chest resonance, and therefore they have this wide vibrato and wobble because there is no support when they get into their older years. I think that's something that was never talked about when I was coming up. It was just like, oh, using your chest voice or chest resonance too much is dangerous. And I was like, but nobody explained it to me,
Yeah. And you're creating a black hole by not even acknowledging.
You were absolutely creating a hole in your voice by not utilizing every part of the, we should be using every part of our instrument in our body.
Yeah, absolutely. Similar to you, I've been with the same teacher for 2 decades now. And
I love that.
Yeah, and she's a Feldenkrais practitioner as well as a voice teacher, and it's all about full body singing, and it's all about flexibility, because you have to be flexible, or those problems.
Absolutely.
Muscle memory, as we know from Broadway, is very intense, and you don't want your muscle memory to be in charge. You want it to be your friend. But if
absolutely
you sing in one way your whole life, it's just gonna eventually say, I'm done now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I want to until the day I go, personally.
I do too. I want to keep singing. And I want to let I still students. In the pandemic, I took on a few young students, and it's all about. It's not about training or doing a lesson to get a job. It's about training for a lifetime of singing.
Yeah.
And, what became popular in the Broadway world, for instance, is I'm going to do whatever it takes and whatever tricks it takes to get this job and do this show on Broadway. And I still see it happening. Sure. And then the person gets out of that job and they are damaged to do anything else.
Yeah. Well, we're taught to just say, yes, we can do this no matter what, Do you dance on point? Absolutely. And then you go learn,
Yeah.
it's like the
Yeah.
Broadway way. Yeah.
The Broadway, the
Yeah.
Broadway way.
And
Mhm.
it's, in a way, it's like a badge of honor, to have that work ethic and say you can do anything. And it is, again, yes, and however, you can hurt yourself. And
Yep.
I think we're shining a light on that issue now more than ever. And I think that's good,
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And definitely one of those topics that the pandemic has forced us to look in the face.
Yes.
What is sustainable as an artist and what is not, and how are we hurting ourselves physically, emotionally, spiritually?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in the pandemic, I realized also that I had never rested my voice or my spirit that long ever. And it was a badge of honor to be busy and to be in demand or whatever. And that was just the constant refrain. And then when the playing field was leveled and everyone was in the same boat of nothingness, we had to really look at our own practices in the mirror. And something I'm happy about, I'm happy how much I've continued studying and practicing. But something I really want to take with me into this new version of the world is the rest. I never rested myself.
Yeah.
I would brag that I wasn't rested almost. And that I just don't know. It was some mentality I'd fallen into.
Yeah. Can I tell you my favorite story about rest?
Sure.
So a friend of mine had the kind of distinct experience to be with her grandmother on her deathbed as her grandmother was passing.
Oh my
And
God.
they had the opportunity to ask questions and just be there and have these beautiful moments. And she said, Grandma, what advice do you want to pass along to me? Is there anything you would have done differently in this lifetime? And her grandmother said, I would have rested more. And
Whoa, chills.
yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah, because we don't think of rest as something constructive, but indeed it is. And
Wow.
yeah, I don't know about you, but like when I'm practicing and I'm hitting a wall, if I go rest or sleep on it, it works better the next day because things actually happen when you rest. Your brain does work when you get out of the way, and
Yeah.
your body recovers, and that's very important.
Yeah, like a loaf of bread. It's like everyone's baking in the pandemic, right? And they're proving and they're letting it rest and watching this slow, beautiful process. And it's like what a microcosm of what we should be allowing for ourselves.
Yes, please. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, tooth and nail holding on to these lessons of the pandemic and hoping we can use them to build more sustainable futures for ourselves as artists. I think it's really
Absolutely. Amen.
Amen. Well, can I ask you some silly questions?
Yes.
Okay. Where are you right now?
I'm in the Bronx, New York.
And what is your well, I already asked you your zodiac sign and I knew it. And so we're going to say once again, you are a Sagittarian queen.
I am, yes.
Coffee or tea, Morgan James?
Coffee. Oh.
Yeah, good answer.
Yeah.
Favorite flavor of ice cream?
Peach.
Peach. Wow. That's a very unique answer.
Although I don't eat dairy anymore, but wow.
Some non-dairy peach in your future?
Exactly. Yeah, if I could find it, that'd be great. Someone out there, make it.
Absolutely. Beach or mountains?
Oh God, I really, really have trouble picking. I suppose beach hedges it out slightly, but I mean, I'm such a mountain girl from growing up in Idaho, but I love a beach vacation and I love getting away. I've become quite a vacation whore, if you will. Like now I take every opportunity to turn a gig into a week-long trip.
It's very important. I just did that with the Hawaii gig, and it was great.
Oh, I'm going there next week.
Oh, amazing!
Yes.
Yes.
So it's the best.
Yeah. What's your favorite vacation spot?
I think that Hawaii and New Zealand are the two most beautiful places I've ever been. Not places you can go all the time. In terms of somewhere I can get to quickly, I love just going upstate and being in the mountains. But New Zealand and Hawaii are my favorite places I've ever been.
Yeah, I've not yet been to New Zealand, but it looks absolutely amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I will get there.
Yeah.
All right, here's a coffee. You can have a weekend away with any 3 people who have ever lived to build your weekend trip.
Oh my gosh. Wow. I think I'll choose. They can be dead or living.
Yeah, anyone.
Okay, I think I'll choose Nora Ephron, Stephen Sondheim,
Yeah, yeah. Got it.
and Nina Simone.
Oh, that's a great time.
That's gonna be a rough room, but you know what?
That's gonna be a great time. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, speaking of Stephen Sondheim, what is your favorite work by Sondheim?
Sunday in the Park with George.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call between that and Little Night Music, but I mean, I've been such a Sondheim aficionado my whole life, like so many of us are. When I was in Juilliard, I wrote for the Sondheim Review, so I would, under my legal name, my old name, and I would write articles about. They would give me assignments, and I would go see shows, and I would write for their quarterly.
I love
And
it.
I learned a lot. Yeah.
Full of surprises.
Yeah, I was kind of an aspiring writer when I was kind of in high school and college, and I didn't know quite where that would lead me. I guess it led me to songwriting ultimately.
I was gonna say you're still a writer, so.
Yeah, still, yeah, different kind.
What is your favorite musical ever?
Favorite musical ever? Oh God, probably Sunday in the Park with George. I love Funny Girl.
Yeah.
I love Ragtime. Secret Garden. Yeah, those are probably my favorites. Yeah, those and
Yeah.
Night Music is way up there. Yeah,
Night Music is my favorite of all time.
I love it.
It shifts, but yeah, it's pretty perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Magnificent. Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your first experience going to an opera ever in your life?
Going to an opera ever? I don't think I saw an opera. I guess there was an opera company in my town when I was a teenager, so I think the first opera I was ever a part of was Song of Norway. Do you know that kind of operetta?
Yeah,
So it's a
operetta.
musical operetta
Yeah.
about Edvard Grieg. And at the same time, the opera company was doing Traviata, and they were doing Tales of Hoffmann and Die Fledermaus. And so I was probably 12 or 13, and I was really enamored by opera. I would listen to it to go to sleep at night. And I didn't know there was so much recitative involved. That was a rude awakening when I got to college. Right, I was like, wow, this is a lot.
Yeah, not at all.
But yeah, it's and it's really, I think it's such a. I went to see La Boheme at the Met on Sunday, and I was blown away. But I'm such a Puccini fan, and it really shouldn't be possible what people do with their bodies, and that sound. I can see why a lot of opera singers and opera singing as a historical, trade has been very elitist, because it shouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
There is something they do that is otherworldly, and it's pretty phenomenal, and I'm still pretty in awe of that.
Yeah, it's Olympian, I believe. That one's.
It's Olympian.
Yeah, what always gets me in Bohème is when Mimi and Rodolfo go off stage and sing that high C together, sustained.
Oh my God, I just got chills thinking about it. And that Act 3, that when she in the snow and
Oh, it's too much.
those beautiful pianissimo moments, and it's just too much.
And that Zeffirelli production is unlike anything that,
It's pretty gorgeous. Yeah.
Like more real than real life. It's not cool.
I know.
Right, 2 final questions, and these are tough ones. You can go back in time to any moment in your life and tell younger Morgan one thing.
Oh God. Oh yikes. I mean, so many places that I was in a fork in the road. I wish I could go back when I just shed so many tears for what I thought was like I was never gonna make it, like I'm never gonna make it moments.
Yeah.
And I wasted a lot of time. I really did not trust the process or the path. And I wasted a lot of time in New York being really sad. Some could argue that makes me the singer and the artist that I am today, just like sheer sadness. But I wish I could go back and say, like, you're gonna be okay. Like, everyone else is gonna catch up to what you do. And I wish I could just give myself a little bit of grace.
Yeah. Tough. And I do think it is part of the process,
It is, I know. But like, I cried over like Sister Act on Broadway. Like, why did I waste my tears? I wasted my tears over so many jobs, they're just jobs.
Yeah. But, it feels I mean, we have to put our soul into these moments to convince people that we are the ones to tell this story. And that's a very vulnerable, raw thing. So
It's life or death. When you really love it, it's life or death, and it feels like it's the most important thing in the world. And
yeah, and I think it's a natural response for the body to release that by crying when you don't.
It's true.
get it.
It's true.
Or crying when you do get it, right?
Or crying when you do get it. Right. Exactly.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the final question is, what is the meaning of life?
What is the meaning of life?
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah.
To use whatever you've been given or whatever you've mined to leave it more beautiful than when you got here.
Mm.
Whether that's you create something that someone finds, or you heal people that need to be healed, or you are a great parent to a lot of children, or whatever you've been given and however you've mined it for yourself, I hope that, you leave it a little bit more beautiful than the world you were brought into.
Yeah, absolutely. Leave things better than you found them. Leave people better than you found them. Yeah.
And it's hard to think about that if you're not Nelson Mandela, or you're not Oprah, or you're not, you know what I mean? It's like being a millionaire, or being the most famous, person in the world, or being the Dalai Lama it's not just those people that make an impact, because we know we all make an impact on someone's life, and trying to be better every day. That's one of the big sub parts of like trying to be better every day, trying to learn and be someone that people say, wow, she really grew. He really evolved. He changed for the better. He helped me change, or whatever.
Yeah. I think it's just exchanging smiles on the street with a stranger sometimes, or having a fun, quick conversation with, someone in the service industry that you're coming across.
Yeah.
Live life beautifully.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure to be with you today. Thanks for coming on.
It's been such a pleasure to see you again and talk with you again, and it's like no time has passed, and that's what I love about our community, I just exactly, it's never ending,
Never, and I'm sure we'll cross paths again.
I'm sure we will.
All right, well, be well, Morgan, and safe travels on the road. I know you have a lot of gigs coming up, and
fingers crossed.
Yeah, I know. I'll be watching from afar and enjoy.
Oh, thank you. Oh man, I love you. Take care, okay?
Much love.
Yes.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for joining us. Puppies and rainbows till we meet again. What do you think? Rainbows or puppies? What's cooler?